Hello and welcome live to Oschersleben in Germany as we continue our coverage of the Formula 3000 International Masters Series. Well, the drought may have broken in the UK, but it's clearly still got Germany in a stranglehold. After a damp qualifying session, the cars on a very wet grid at Oschersleben in Germany for the first of two races here for the Formula 3000 International Masters Series. They raced so far at Monza, at Manicourt and at Brands Hatch, rounds 7 and 8 of the championship, then here in Germany. Hello, I'm Martin Haven, and enjoying the chance to be again, as at Brands Hatch, in the dry while the cars are out on a wet track here at Oschersleben. Well, 24 laps in these conditions isn't going to be anybody's idea of fun. Luckily for the girls of the pit boards, here at least in Germany, they've relented and they're not in shorts and a vest, they're in long tights and a vest, so slightly better position. Here is our pole sitter, Alessandro Pierguidi. A 1 minute 23.6 lap in qualifying puts him nearly 2 seconds quicker than anybody else, and it's down move of Russia, who is on the outside of the front row of the grid. But it was a wet session that dried, and therefore we see some big disparities between the fastest and the slowest. In fact, 5 cars failed to even make the 117% rule, including this man, Christian Gadina, not the slowest of all. He managed 16 laps in the wet conditions. He starts on row 7 of the grid.
Ho deciso di correre in macchina perché ho sempre avuto la passione fin da quando ero piccolo. Adesso con gli sci ero un po' vecchio, ho la possibilità di correre in macchina e ci provo. Mi piace un sacco e speriamo di fare in fretta a salire le classifiche. Forse gli sciatori gli discesisti soprattutto sono sempre stati un po' matti, e la passione per i motori l'hanno avuta tutti. Per me Luc è un buon esempio, perché lui dallo sci è andato alle macchine e ha brillato in tutti e due gli sport, sia nello sci che con le auto, e spererei di fare così anch'io.
So Gadina then in another wet race weekend down there towards the tail of the field. Alessandro Pierguidi on pole position, but Jaroslav Yanis, our championship leader, is another guy who didn't fare too well in the wet conditions. So we won't be seeing too much of him. I don't actually have a completed grid yet, unfortunately. For some reason there doesn't seem to be one available. We will try and let's just have another quick look on the website and see if we can pick one up right now. Grid for race 1 still doesn't exist, so here we go. We finally have one, and it's showing that Christian Gadina and Glauco Solieri, the man behind him, are all allowed to start the race. I think force majeure definitely being used there. But Jaroslav Yanis, the championship leader, not here this weekend. And that leaves the way open really to his teammate and arch rival Jean Charuz, who is also in the Momo Challenge for the under 21-year-old drivers. He's leading that one from Ignazio Belluardo. Jean Charuz starting in 4th position for the Charuz Racing team. So the car's getting ready to leave the wet grid here at Oschersleben. 24 laps. And our successful race winners, Jean Charuz and Luca Persiani from Brands Hatch, are the two drivers with a 10-kilo weight ballast penalty for their successes. You just saw the tail end of Michele Merendino's Scuderia Pharma car. The two red machines were out within a couple of moments of the start at Brands Hatch. And they will certainly be hoping for better fortunes as the field is led away by Alessandro Pierguidi and Daniel Mouve. Mouve also out at Brands Hatch at Druids in the first race on the first corner. So he'll be hoping for a little better. He was knocked out of race 2 as well. The two ADM drivers on the front row of the grid. Massimo Torre then from Scuderia Bigazzi. He lines up on the inside of row 2 with our championship leader Jean Charus. And as you can see, quite some distance there. Christian Gadina finding things very tricky in that big wet set of puddles in the first left into the hotel corner sequence. It is 3 or 4 inches of standing water there, and he has spun his car. Marco Mocci and Michele Merendino on row 3 of the grid. Row 4 then, Felipe Salaquadra. Now he's in the second Charus racing team. Driver from the Czech Republic. He's in the car normally driven by compatriot Jaroslav Yanis, our championship leader. Yanis with a 24-point advantage. Maximum any driver can take away from this race weekend is 20 points, so he cannot lose the title lead despite not being here. Davide Di Benedetto on the outside of row 4, then row 5, Emilio Di Villota and Ignazio Belloardo. And behind them the drivers, as we see Christian Gadina spinning on that standing water. Behind them the drivers that didn't make the qualifying maxima, the 117% rule. Giovanni Tedeschi and Luca Persiani, our Brands Hatch Race 2 winner. Tor Graves and Christian Gadina. And then on the final row of the grid, Glauco Solieri for Scuderia Pharma. So very, very wet conditions indeed here. This is going to be a real race of attrition. I would imagine we probably won't see more than 7 or 8 of these cars finish. A lot of these young drivers, really quite inexperienced, have come out of a year or 2 of single-seaters, most of them as a maximum, before they have come into these Formula 3000 cars. So don't forget, although these Lola chassis are now effectively 3 years out of date as a Formula 3000 car, that hasn't lost any of their power. They are still very powerful, very high-performance machines. And even the Formula 3000 international drivers in wet races here at Oschersleben really struggled to keep the cars on track. So these international masters youngsters, a lot of them very much fresher to motorsport than the top professionals of years gone by, will have a tough job on their hands. Cars forming up on the grid, ready for race 7 of the Formula 3000 International Masters Championship here at Oschersleben, live on Eurosport 2. And a chance now for Alessandro Pierguidi, the man on pole position, to claim his first race win in the series. No chance of the championship changing hands. Jaroslav Yanis has a 24-point lead. Maximum points on offer here, 20. So he, despite not being here, will be the championship leader as they go to the next race weekend in the Czech Republic. But as the lights go off, away they go. The two ADM drivers on the front row of the grid. Alessandro Pierguidi having a big tank slapper there. Daniel Mouve takes the lead. Massimo Torre coming through from behind across the grass. He takes the lead through Hotel. And our pole sitter in trouble on the gravel on the inside. 3 wide a little further back. Contact there as one of, I think, Michele Merendino got a little tap from the inside. You can see the yellow and blue car of Giovanni Tedeschi. I beg your pardon, Luca Persiani there, working his way up through the very, very wet field indeed. And already we've got one on the gravel. That's Jean Charus, second in the championship, the man who needs to win both races if he's to take this title battle to his teammate Jaroslav Yanis. There's the other red machine from Scuderia Pharma, Michele Merendino. Well, already the race is looking as though it is going to be a long, strung-out affair. They come through the Bilstein chicane for the first time, bouncing over the curbs onto the long back stadium straight, and a very comfortable lead indeed for Massimo Torre. Second place, Daniel Mouve. third place, our pole sitter, Alessandro Pierguidi. Fourth place is Davide Di Benedetto. Out of the final corner, Spielmacher, and across the line for the first time. Lap of the top counting down, 23 to go. I'm not sure they'll get the full race distance here. Here comes Davide Di Benedetto. He's out of the spray. He can see the braking zone, and frankly, being online or offline here isn't going to make much difference to the grip levels available. But the curbs certainly will, and that was only just held on to there by Alessandro Pierguidi. As our race leader, Massimo Torre, tries to make the best of this one and escape. Daniel Move in second place. Up to third has gone Davide Di Benedetto. It's going to be very tricky indeed to hang on to the rest of them. Persiani pulling out of the spray to try and make a move on Massimo Mocci. We'll have to see how that one sorts itself out. Emilio Di Villota down in ninth place. Now, this young Spanish kid really not making an impression on the championship this year. I'm very surprised he's not faring so well, because in the Formula Palmer Audi Championship, in which he raced last season in the UK, he certainly produced some sparkling performances. Now, a lot of it is not against professional drivers, more against enthusiastic amateurs, but nonetheless, still a very impressive bunch of performances, and just finding himself a little bit all at sea perhaps in these more powerful cars. There is our pole sitter then, Alessandro Pierguidi, down in fourth place, and these lead quartet pushing up a big wall of spray behind them. Davide Di Benedetto on the move here, and Di Benedetto, one of the more experienced drivers in the championship. And as you saw there, Daniel Move, the Russian, getting his wheels just out on the white line on the exit of the corner. Huge tail slide. Di Benedetto's got a run going on him, but he's not quite close enough to chance it. This, of course, definitely playing into the hands of Massimo Torre, who is just starting to run away with this race. And he can see where he's going, and he's obviously got a quick car as well. Big slide again off the curbs from Alessandro Pierguidi. These guys have really got to learn that anything that's got paint on it may as well be sheet ice in these conditions. You have really got to stay away from any curbs, any white lines, anywhere. Torre with a 5-second lead after 2 laps. Di Benedetto must get past Daniel Move, and fast. Luca Persiani now has moved up ahead of Matteo Mocci, and so has Felipe Salaquadra. So Persiani, the winner of the second race at Brands Hatch, almost caught by Jaroslav Yanis, but not quite. Yanis, the winner of 4 of the first 6 races, with a second and a third place as well. Now Davide Di Benedetto just losing touch there with Daniel Move in second place. Here comes Persiani. Persiani being passed by Salaquadra. That's a great move. Felipe Salaquadra up to 5th place now, ahead of Luca Persiani. Well, in these conditions, you can imagine just a wheel in a puddle in the wrong place leaves you with 650 horsepower, spinning the wheels furiously and trying to sort out a huge tank slap. But look at Persiani on the right there. Very slow getaway from, was it Merendino? I think it was, on the grid. Persiani making a very good start, up to 5th at the first corner, but it was very close indeed. Our pole sitter, Alessandro Pierguidi, nearly spinning across the nose of the leaders. The gravel the first time round. Davide Di Benedetto just being edged out wide there. Got the move in on Pierguidi though. That's a very committed move from Davide Di Benedetto. Massimo Torre still with about that 5-second advantage, but now Daniel Move has got his head down and charging. There is Davide Di Benedetto in 3rd place. Not quite keeping track. And that's the 21 machine we saw off earlier. Michele Merendino Now, he had a problem getting away from the grid. Didn't look as though it was just chronic wheel spin. Looked as though he might have had a clutch or a gear selection problem. But we have lost Michele Merendino, our 6th fastest qualifier. Just to let you know, there was, in fact, over 19 seconds covering the drivers, the 15 drivers in qualifying, 1.9 of which was first to second. It was very much the last man across the line was going to be the quickest man in qualifying as they scrambled to change to adjust to the changeable conditions. And there you can see the number 2 car, Davide Di Benedetto, only 8th in qualifying. 7.5 seconds his fastest lap was, slower than Alessandro Pierguidi, the man behind him, who ended up on pole position. And you can see that that was a reflection more of the conditions than the driver ability. Massimo Torre still comfortable out front. And the battle for second starting to spread out a little. Davide Di Benedetto, the darker of these 3 cars, needs to really get his head down and get on with it, because at the moment Daniel Move is escaping, and Move again off the curbs. You saw the back of the tail fishtailing wildly. There's more than enough horsepower in these cars to step out in any gear pretty much if you hit a curb or standing water. Massimo Torre off on his own, and that's got to be another second faster than the rest of them at the moment. Davide Di Benedetto, the dark blue, light blue car between the blue and white ADM cars. ADM Motorsport and ADM Junior team, the junior team running Alessandro Pierguidi. Dear, and again, you see the cars snap viciously sideways. Both 3rd and 4th place men there having a big moment on their hands through that Bilstein chicane. One of the problems with the chicane there is that the curbs dip down. It's sort of little dip down and then back up the other side, and of course the water forms in the groove in the middle. Through the Shell S's, very popular overtaking position that. I wonder if it's wet for Sunday's World Touring Car races, just whether that will continue to be a possible overtaking position or not. Out of turn 8 and then through Spielmacher, the final turn on the corner, on the track. Some argument as to how many turns there are. Officially the track says 14, but then the penultimate corner is called turn 8. And the one that is marked as turn 7 on the camera map is called turn 4, so who can tell? Turn 10 is turn 6, no idea. There is Marco Mocci, the Allen Racing cars, both with their orange and black livery. Mocci from 5th position now, down outside the top half dozen. Ooh, that was thrown in the inside at Hasseröder and just about held on to by Alessandro Pierguidi. Torre now 6 seconds ahead of Daniel Move, and that's it. Davide Di Benedetto finally puts a wheel out on the grass too far and loses it. No damage done at the moment, at least. Let's see if he can get it back on without getting beached. There is our race leader. So Di Benedetto drops down the order, probably to about 7th or 8th. Let's have a look again. Through here on the exit of the second part of triple. Well, that's picking it up after the sin has been committed and the punishment has been doled out by gravity. Here he is, just gets it held as the car tries to get away from him, but with both outside wheels there on the grass, he saved the spin in element 2 of the triple, but not in element 3. Here we go. Tell tries to step out, holds it, but he's run out of road, keeps the wheel as straight as he can, but he's got his boot firmly planted there, and unfortunately without that, the right rear wheel spins up and drags the car off into what is a very wet outfield indeed. Still just managed to stop before the gravel grabbed him. And here is our race leader then, Massimo Torre. Keeping his nose clean, just trying to keep the rhythm up without pushing too hard. but it is very difficult indeed. Second place, Daniel Move. Third now, right behind him, Alessandro Piedridi, but a flapping right front nose wing from Piedridi, and maybe that is the legacy of bouncing over the gravel trap at the first corner. Salaquadra closing in behind them. Now look at the second place car there. Yeah, it's really got quite a damaged nose. That wing dragging on the floor won't be doing too much to the car. In these conditions, they will have had maximum wing cranked on, and they will have certainly the dampers and the anti-roll bars softened right up or disconnected entirely to try and allow the car to roll a little bit, make it less stiff, less instantaneous in its snapping away response. Through the Bilstein chicane to turn 6 and then onto long back straight. Let's take a look again. Great wheel-to-wheel action. Emilio Di Vallota being passed there by Ignazio Belluardo. Good control by both men. Could so easily have been a real spin there at Hasserode. It's a very tight, slightly banked left-hander. And of course, down in the ditch will be where the puddle hides. Now, poleman on the move. Alessandro Piedridi looking for second place now. This is a teammates battle, and goodness me, Daniel Move held on to that one left, right, didn't he? And did you see how much Piedridi lost? Because he snapped the throttle shut there as he thought his teammate was spinning right on his nose. So Daniel Move holds on to the car and second place for the moment. Piedridi in third place, and right behind them Felipe Salaquadra from the Czech Republic as this battle for second continues. Great move down the inside into Hasselrode, and he pays for it on the exit. The pole sitter tries to make second place, but gives it all away again. Alessandro Piedridi dived inside his teammate Daniel Move, couldn't hold it, and went out onto the grass. Let's have a look again then. Through the wall of spray, the reverse angle shows you that it's all done and dusted by that stage. Did well to hold on to it. Lost third place, though, to Felipe Salaquadra. Very close indeed. There was certainly no control there from the driver. It was just the way the puddles threw him. Race leader Daniel Move. I beg your pardon, race leader is still Massimo Torre, easing away. And there is car number 2, Davide Di Benedetto, who's lost nearly a lap to the battle that he was part of before. Daniel Move catching him. Felipe Salaquadra in third place. Very impressive debut from Felipe Salaquadra. Czech driver closing in now on the second place man. And charging down through the spray in the wake of our race leader Massimo Torre. And I think they are closing on Torre. Salaquadra, as you saw last lap, the fastest man out there, and he's really got this car by the scruff of the neck, and it's about the only way to drive them. It is a dangerous balancing act, though. In these conditions, he's really pushing the car around, sliding it four square up to the apex, and really pushing hard. He's looking for the inside move here, but it's very, very wet down on the inside of Hasserode because of the banking. Water running down towards the inside curb. You can see there's quite some standing water on and around the edge of the curb. Ducks out, ducks back in, just so he can see where he's going. Covering a little more ground, though, of course, that means. Just those extra little weaves gives his rival a yard or two on him. But it's not raining like it was at the beginning of the race. Certainly raining enough to keep most of the fans away from Motorpark Oschersleben on this very wet Saturday in eastern Germany. City of Magdeburg, just 5 or 6 miles up the road. Berlin, 2 hours away. It should be a major draw in hot conditions with BMW here and the World Touring Car drivers. And let's hope that Sunday is promising a little more. Here again, we see the 28 car on the move. Ignazio Belluardo diving down the inside of our Brands Hatch winner. Gets by Luca Persiani. Moves himself up the order into the top half dozen. But this battle for second and third position, really what's keeping interest alive at the moment. Race leader across the line. Then the lapped Davide Di Benedetto. Then the battle for second. Good move down the inside from Felipe Salaquadra. Very well taken. Made the opportunity, pulled out, came down the inside. Pretty much indefensible position on the outside line in these conditions. And you see that there's certainly no danger of this track drying out anytime soon. There is a slightly less soaking line on the racetrack. You can see it's less wet than in other positions on the racing line, but not by much. Salaquadra again likes that little duck out there to see where he's going. So just to recap, Massimo Torre then, the man who took the lead in the first couple of corners on lap one, still out front. This is the move for second. Felipe Salaquadra, the silver and red machine, down the inside, making his series debut. The youngster from the Czech Republic up to second spot. And try as he might, Russian driver Daniel Move could not hang on to him. But the Russian's certainly having a much better time of it here than in the soaking conditions at Brands Hatch, where he was taken out in both races. There is our race leader, Massimo Torre, the man who qualified in third. Driving for the famous Bugatti racing team. Scuderia Bugatti, for many years a stalwart of BMW's touring car operations. Multiple Spa 24-hour race winners. He used to race in the European Touring Car Championship in its previous iteration to the most recent. Now then, behind Davide Di Benedetto, and is that? Yes, that is Glauco Solieri, who's the red car, who's now been lapped for the second time, is our second position driver. Davide Di Benedetto with his hand out the cockpit, but in these conditions, very hard indeed for the driver behind to really be sure he's seeing what he's seeing. Luckily, the corner was slow enough that Di Benedetto's gesture could be seen. And Di Benedetto a lap down after being in the battle for second place. I wonder whether he's got a misfire or whether he's missing a gear or something, because certainly his race pace is nothing like it should be. Daniel Moog third, Alessandro Piedridi, our pole sitter, in fourth, Massimo Mocci in fifth, Ignazio Belluardo we just saw taking sixth position a lap or two ago. Massimo Torre's lead over Felipe Salaquadra, with pretty much half the race distance gone, is still 6+ seconds. I wonder if Salaquadra can do enough to catch the leader. Do you know what, in these conditions he almost doesn't have to catch him, just the fact that he's closing relentlessly might push Massimo Torre into trying a little harder than he can actually cope with. And Salaquadra clearly is having a fairly comfortable time of this. There is Ignazio Belluardo, currently lying in sixth position. Belluardo's second in the Young Drivers Series, 1 point behind Jean Charuz. And Belluardo, therefore, if he finishes the race, is in a very strong position to take over the under-21s Momo Trophy. And I'll move the Russian. Tail of the car again, stepping out all over the place. And our race leader just clicking off the laps, waiting for the time to run out, I think, in this one. Doesn't look likely that it'll go to the full length somehow. Massimo Torre, 19 years of age. Came out of karting fairly predictably. Started in 60 cc's, then 100, moving up to the 100 cc capacity. Raced in Italian Formula Ford for the first couple of single-seater years of his career, 2002, 2003. Formula Renault in Italy in 2004, and last year some Formula 3 experience in Italy, but not 20 years of age until August, by which stage, of course, they will be waiting to go to Brno in the Czech Republic. That race isn't until September. when the World Touring Car Championship are away on their travels. The Formula 3000 International Masters drivers will be taking a rest from this series at any rate. They will be supporting the European races in Brno, at Istanbul, in Valencia, and then their finals will be in Estoril in Portugal. Torre at the moment with the race under control. The question is, can he hang on to it all the way? Certainly our second place driver, Felipe Salaquadra, looking very competent at the moment. Nothing even on the organisers' website about Salaquadra, so I have no idea what his background is. Not a name I confess to knowing. But I tell you what, we'll certainly know a little bit about him after this one, won't we? Not beyond the bounds of possibility. That was a great move there, well held. Quick searching tells us that he's been racing in the Formula 3 Euro Series for the ISR team, and in last year's Macau Grand Prix in Formula 3. Well, I have to say I didn't notice him particularly up towards the front of the field. There is our race leader, Massimo Torre, again on the lock stops through the chicane there. 2 years of Formula BMW, and then Czech Formula 3 in 2004 for Felipe Salaquadra. So that's his background then. And to balance the Formula 3000 cars with the Formula 3 experience that he's got, it's certainly not going to be the work of a moment. These cars are a very different proposition indeed from a Formula 3 car. Far more power than the 190 or so of a current Formula 3 car. More than twice as much. And compared to the power, certainly nothing like the grip levels that a Formula 3 car will produce. More grip empirically, but then lots more power. Oh dear, Bill Stein claims another victim. Somebody just romping over the curbs trying to straight line. It's a little too much. Great camera shot, doesn't tell us who it is, but the leader on the grass there hangs on for a moment and just does hang on in the Shell S's to turn 8 here, but that is the sort of mistake that can cost a race. Massimo Torre just pushing a little too hard. Car ran too wide on him, and he must have been going all the way around the outside there as it tracked around on the grass, desperately trying to keep the throttle setting absolutely neutral. Not more power, but certainly not less, because that would have looped him into a spin just as convincingly. And again, the leader having to really push hard with just 5 minutes of the time remaining in this race. Gap between first and second. Round 7 of the Formula 3000 International Masters here at Oschersleben, still hovering around the 5-second mark with 5 minutes and less of the race remaining. That should give them time for at least another 3, maybe another 4 laps. Massimo Torre leading from Felipe Salaquadra. 14 laps completed. 24 was the scheduled race distance. In the dry, they might have made that. In these wet conditions, no chance. But the gap has come down now to under 4 seconds. That's first to second, and I would have thought a second of that will have been because Massimo Torre had to really keep the car desperately under control around last lap. and the last couple of corners, or the in fact out of the shell S's before the last couple of corners. It was here that he made the mistake at the end of the straight as you dip down again, water running across the track through the shell S's. And that's exactly where the race leader had his moment as well. Right at that apex curb, big standing water, 650 brake horsepower, woo, instant wheel spin, and the car stepping out. If you know it's there, you can allow for it. And in fact, frankly, they might be a little better place putting two wheels over the curb on the inside, because at least it'll be guaranteed to be slippy. If you aim for the slide, then you've got a better chance of holding it than if you just plant a wheel in the standing water. Again, flicking it into this chicane, turning in under braking, catching the slide and drifting it through on the lock stops. Race leader with spray now in front of him. That looks like Christian Gadina in front. Massimo Torre's teammate in the Scuderia Bugatti. Gadina will be hoping just to survive this race. Foul conditions for a man in only his 9th car race ever of any description. And that's the gap first to second you just saw. There is our race leader. And he will be really hoping to catch Christian Gadina at a good quick part of the circuit, so he can use his drive off the corner, which is certain to be more aggressive than Gadina's. Through Bilstein, turn 6. This is the perfect place to catch him, really. Barely being held up through the chicane. Now a good long straight and a guaranteed overtake at the end. He's got the inside line already. He's making the move, just wipes his visor for the first time, really, in the last few laps. He's in the spray, and then woof. Christian Gadina suddenly can't see where he's going as Massimo Torre, the race leader, gets by and moves back onto the very wet online part of the track. Well, Torre got by without any problems. I'm sure Gadina will do his utmost not to hold up the man in second place. Dear, oh dear, it's not going very well at all for Emilio Di Villota, the Spaniard, losing it in the Bilstein chicane. And again, so does Jean Charuz. Very easy to do. That's just been comprehensively proved here. And that is one of our two ADM cars. Can't tell whether that is Alessandro Pierguidi or Daniel Move. Unfortunately, the camera not able to show us either. Still raining pretty heavily here at Oschersleben, as you can see the water bouncing off the road. A minute left. This will be the last lap then. Can't imagine they'll get another one in. Oh dear, still foul. In fact, it's raining harder than ever, and Philippe Salaquadra will just have to be content with second place. Not bad on your race debut, but an impressive performance from Massimo Torre. Do you know what, they might have to do another one. I don't think he's got time to slow it down enough. He's trying as hard as he can to go slowly. Bilstein chicane, 37 seconds. No, time will just run out, I think. He's going to have to be very careful, though. Don't forget, they've been out for 20-odd laps, getting on for 30 laps now. And the wet weather tyres will not be at their very best. They won't have worn incredibly hard in the slightly dry middle section of the race, but still, you've just got to be cautious. It's the last lap. You don't want to give it away. Out to turn 8 with 10 seconds to go. Of course, if it was a video game, he wouldn't make it to the checkpoint to beat the zero counter, but it's not. Out of the final corner then, checkered flag will await, and blessed relief as well for Massimo Torre. A very well taken victory by the young Italian. And second place, equally impressive, Philippe Salaquadra. As far as we can tell, his first ever Formula 3000 race. Impressive job indeed. Salaquadra qualifying only 7th fastest in the very wet to dry qualifying race situation rather, but then taking a fine second place. And third, not Davide Di Benedetto or Christian Gadina. Somebody else back there, I'm afraid, rather lost track of anybody else being involved in the race at this stage. Certainly no questioning the first and second drivers. Massimo Torre our race winner, and Felipe Salaquadra in second place. Now, depending which of the ADM cars went off, that might possibly mean that we have Daniel Move in third or not, depending on whether it was him that went off or Alessandro Pierguidi for a second time. We didn't see, I'm afraid, which car it was, and I can't tell you without a timing screen either. And I can tell you that the race winner is getting even wetter as he goes around. You saw how deep the puddle there was, even at low speed. Big bow wave coming up from the front wheels as he went through it at the Bilstein chicane. Well, that was where it all went right for Massimo Torre. Chose the right line, and from there on in, he was never challenged as our race leader. Great race, though, from Felipe Salaquadra. Mistakes from Davide Di Benedetto, from pole sitter Alessandro Pierguidi, and quite possibly from Daniel Move as well, robbing them of a chance of challenging. But in absolutely foul conditions, wetter perhaps even than Brands Hatch, Massimo Torre taking a well-judged race win. Jan Chareurs putting himself out of contention to threaten Jaroslav Yanis. Needed to win both these races here to get within 4 points of the championship leader. But the points now being spread somewhere else instead, I'm afraid. So it's all looking even better for Jaroslav Yanis. Well, it was Daniel Move then who took third place, Alessandro Pierguidi in fourth position. Well, in which case, which of the ADM drivers was it? Could have been Tor Graves, maybe, that was on the side of the track that we couldn't identify. Luca Persiani, the other ADM driver, the man who won at Brands Hatch, in eighth position. So the points being nicely spread around everybody. And behind Persiani, everybody else lapped. Don't forget, more Formula 3000 Masters on Sunday, as well as World Touring Car Championship action live from Oschersleben, and the qualifying later this afternoon.